Can I ask you something? When you got laid off, or when you found out it might be coming, what was the first thought that went through your mind? For most of us, it's some version of the same thing. What am I supposed to do now? I thought it too, sitting in my car on the side of the road after the Zoom call last summer. I thought it too. But here's what I've been sitting with since then. What if that thought is completely wrong? What if starting over at 55 isn't the obstacle we've been told it is? What if it's actually an opportunity we've been waiting for without knowing it? Stay with me, because I think what I'm about to share with you might genuinely change how you see where you are right now. Welcome back to 55 and Forward. I'm Alicia. If this is your first time here, I'm so glad you found this channel. Last week, I shared the story about how I got laid off at 55 after 14 years with the same company on a Zoom call parked on the side of the road. If you haven't watched that video yet, I'll link it below. It's where everything starts. But today I want to take you somewhere different. Because once the shock of that moment started to settle, once I actually could think clearly again, a question kept coming back to me that I wasn't expecting. What if this is actually an opportunity? And today I want to explore that question with you. Honestly, no false positivity, no pretending everything is just fine. Just a real conversation about what might actually be true about where you are right now. Can I tell you something I think we all know? We believe that if we showed up, worked hard, and gave it our all, the opportunity would always be there. You find a good job, you work hard, you stay loyal, you put in the years, 10, 15, 20 years, and you build something solid. And eventually, at the right time, on your own terms, you get to stop, you retire, and you enjoy the life you've earned. That was the path. That was the plan most of us were following. And I want to ask you, did anyone ever sit you down and tell you that's how it was going to go? Or did we all just quietly follow the same road that everyone else was on without actually asking where it actually led? Because here's what actually happens when a layoff hits at 55. The path disappears, and the narrative most of us immediately tell ourselves is a painful one. I've been set back. I'm behind. Starting over at this age is harder and slower and less likely to work out than it would have at 35. I know you've thought it. I've thought it too. And I understand why. The job market realities for people over 50 are real. The bias, even if it's not said out loud, is real. The uncertainty is genuinely frightening. But I want to challenge something underneath all of that. The belief that starting over means starting from scratch, because I think that belief is holding us back more than we realize. I want you to do something with me for a second. Forget the job title, forget the company, forget the salary and the status and everything that just got taken away. And just think about what you actually know. At 55, you know things that cannot be taught in a classroom or learned from a book or from 1 to 2 years of working. You know what you're genuinely good at, not what you think you should be good at, but what you actually are. You know what kind of work lights you up and what kind of work drains the life out of you. You know how to navigate difficult people, impossible timelines, competing priorities. You've spent decades learning, often the hard way, who you are and what you're capable of. Does that sound like someone starting from scratch to you? Because it doesn't to me. I see someone with an extraordinary foundation who now has something she never had before, the freedom to decide what to build on top of it. And I want that reframe for you too. You are not starting over. You are starting better. And I want you to hear the difference between those two things, because it changes everything about how you move forward from here. Here's something I want to ask you, and I really want you to think about it. When was the last time you actually asked yourself what you want? Not what makes sense financially, not what looks responsible, not what other people think you should do, not what the next logical career step is supposed to be. What do you actually want from this one life you have? For most of us, and I include myself in this, somewhere along the way, we stopped asking that question. We got busy, we got comfortable, we got locked into a trajectory that made sense on paper and just kept going. And the years went by, and we kept telling ourselves that we'd figure out what we really wanted later. When the kids were grown, when the mortgage was paid, when it was a better time. And then a layoff happened, and later arrived whether we were ready for it or not. Here's what I've come to believe about that. A layoff at 55 is a forced pause in a life that was moving too fast to examine it. And as frightening and as disorienting as that is, it's also something else. It's an invitation, an unwanted, unexpected, uninvited invitation to finally ask the question that you've been putting off. What do I actually want this next chapter to look like? Most people never get that invitation. They arrive at retirement without ever having decided what they want it to be, and then wonder why it feels hollow. You got that invitation early, and I think that matters more than most people realize. Now, I want to be really honest with you for a second. Everything I just said, the reframe, the foundation, the invitation, none of that makes the practical challenges disappear. The financial questions are real. I know that. You know that. The healthcare gap before Medicare is real. The job market for people over 50 is genuinely harder. The uncertainty about what comes next doesn't go away just because you decide to think about it differently. I'm not going to tell you that everything works out perfectly because I'm in the middle of figuring this out for myself. And pretending otherwise would make me exactly the kind of channel I didn't want to create. What I am saying is this: the story you tell yourself about this moment matters enormously, almost more than anything else. If you approach this as a setback to recover from, you'll spend all of your energy trying to get back to the life you had, back to the same kind of job, the same path you were already on. But if you approach this as an unexpected opening, you'll spend your energy building something that actually fits who you are right now, who you've become, and who you still want to be. That shift requires two things: honest evaluation, a real clear-eyed look at what you truly want, not what sounds responsible, not what looks right to other people, what you genuinely want, and courage. The courage to trust your own instincts, even when the path isn't fully mapped out yet, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when the people around you don't understand what you're doing or why. Neither of those are easy, but both of them are available to you right now, exactly where you are. I want to share something with you before we close today. Not long after the layoff, I was traveling and I came across something completely unexpected, a double rainbow. I stopped. I just stood there and looked at it for a long time. After every storm, no matter how sudden, no matter how disorienting, no matter how much it knocks you off your feet, after every storm, something beautiful is possible on the other side. I took that photo because I wanted to remember that feeling, and I want you to have it too. Because wherever you are in this right now, if you're still in the shock, or you're just beginning to find your footing, or you're somewhere in the middle, I want you to know something. This is not the end of your story. It might actually be where the most important chapter begins. So here's what I want to leave you with today. Just one question, and you don't have to answer it right now. Just let it sit with you. If you could design this next chapter on your own terms, knowing what you know now, without the constraints of what you think you're supposed to do, what would it look like? Just sit with that. See what comes up. Next week, I'm getting into the first concrete financial moves I made after the layoff. Real decisions, real reasoning, and one move which went against everything we've been told, and why I did it anyway. You won't want to miss that one. If today's video resonated with you, if something I said landed in a way that you needed, could you please do me a favor and subscribe? It costs you nothing, and it means everything to a brand new channel trying to reach the people who need it most. Tell me, what's the one thing you would do differently if you were designing this next chapter completely on your own terms? I want to know, and I'll see you next week.